Hey everyone, welcome to Grain Therapy, the woodworking podcast where we discuss our passions, methods, and personal growth as we build our woodworking businesses. In this episode, Matt helps me reflect on the why and the how of my complicated relationship with social media itself. We uncover ways in which Instagram hasn't felt sustainable from a vulnerability perspective for me, and Matt helps me see how the things that I want from social media might come from this podcast. Matt also talks about running his lathe for the first time and shares some wisdom about diversifying where learning comes from.
Is that your pink drink? The classic?
Yep, the classic. I'm just gonna from now on I'll call it Hawaiian Punch.
Brian Punch, cool.
Hawaiian, not Hawaiian.
Oh, Brian. I heard the
Brian.
Brian Punch. That's pretty good.
What you
Did
got?
you just think of that?
No, I've been saying that since college.
I was gonna say that was so planned. Oh, that's funny. This is not just whiskey, even though it might look like it. It's actually Crown Apple Sprite.
Mm.
And something about fall, I just crave Crown Apple. Like, it's not my thing normally, but I went out and bought one yesterday because I was just craving it.
Nice. Sounds like I'd be pretty close to even liking it, even though it's whiskey.
Have you not had a Crown Apple Sprite before? It's like candy. It's literally like candy. You can't have too many of them, otherwise you get gut rot. But
little sweet.
One is good.
Yeah.
But I did diet Sprite, zero sugar, just to.
Oh, that's way better.
I got to keep my stomach. Yeah, got to keep it tame. So, how'd things go this week? I've calmed down. You can't tell. How did yours go?
You calmed down. That's good.
I was on a cliff last week.
I was really calm last week, and then I kind of peaked up a little bit, and now I'm hopefully back to relax, but still a little anxious. So taking a break still, and figuring out the direction that I'm going. And I was getting ready to release a bunch of stuff about. I did all that recording about a lot of experiences of the table, and there's something in me just hurry up, get these going, post it, and that just didn't feel right. So I just kind of took a day to all that urgent energy is it's real, and I understand because of the algorithm and because of where I want to be, all of it, I'm acknowledging it, but also taking the time to realize that that's the beginning of the cycle of me creating my own anxiety of just trying to follow, because I both want to have good posts that help people, or even if it doesn't help people, just have it be well articulated about what my experience is. I want to treat it more like a diary, is what I've come to realize. It's my Instagram is just going to be, this is my life, so I can look back and be proud of the direction and how I've gone forward. And I really hadn't been looking at it that way, and just because that urgency was always there. So it's I want to have good posts and be consistent that way, but the algorithm wants consistency in terms of how often you're posting. Are you trying to get a post a day? And I see all these accounts and that say you have tremendous growth if you can be consistent enough to have one a day, and throw out the quality and just kind of focus on quantity for a while. And I hear that, but it just doesn't. I've been trying to do that, and it's too much for me. So it's just spent a lot of time thinking about that, and just kind of came to the conclusion, the way I need to treat Instagram for me to be sustainable is I want to treat it like a relationship with somebody. It is a relationship. It's social media, but I've been treating it hey, here I am. Here's my business. Let me take up some space in your life and just see what I've got and hopefully buy that. But I haven't really been thinking about what me, Brian, as an individual want to have from somebody interacting with me. And so I'm still getting through all that, figuring out exactly what that is. But I think I'm philosophical. I hope that when people meet me or talk to me, they leave that conversation either learning something about themselves or thinking about something in a different way than they've ever anticipated thinking about that idea. And so I need to start asking more questions. And like the way I've been doing it is, here's what I've been thinking about, and here are all my feelings and reflections on that, which is great. I think that can help people, but it doesn't like start the discussion, which is like so much what I want and need. Like I need to like have people meet me in that discussion and be like, hey, like this is what I think, or like this is where I've been, and oh yeah, that's really cool. Let's all try that together. Or, you know, this guy comes into the conversation. Let's go see what his page is about, and like really start to grow the community part, you know, like actually start a discussion. And it seems really clear in my head, like that's the direction I'm headed, but it seems not as clear when I think about how much fear is behind that. And I'm kind of on my soapbox here. I'm just talking a long time. I get self-conscious about that.
No, that's all right. That was all really good.
I think one more idea is like, so we both have talked about like trying to be more of ourselves on social media or in public. And like, I think I've been having a really intentional approach to that. Like if you think of a spectrum of like, this is where I am right now showing up on social media, to, I'm looking at the screen, you know, to hear like, this is what I picture myself for the long term is. On the spectrum, what I'm testing out is like barely moving this way.
Sure.
And so, and the reason is because like there's fear, and you want to like test it out and see how the audience like reacts to that, right? And at least that's how I have been looking at it, mostly subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And then realizing, whoa, well, the reason, you know, it doesn't feel good is because as I get closer and closer to myself, I'm being less of what the role of what I believe that my audience wants me to be. And so that's like from people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always have that in my background of like, that's like that script is always running in my head of like, how can I be what the people need me to be?
Because that usually rewards you. And that's why people fall into that. Because if you please people, you usually get it back some way.
Right. Or at least that's the hope, right? And so as I've been like tweaking and coming slightly away from that more towards myself, it's like crickets. And then it's like, oh, so then the story I tell myself is, oh, I guess I can't be myself on social media either, because that's not necessarily getting me what I want. And so it builds up more anticipation of like creeping closer to who I am authentically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so that's just like, that's building up the pressure over time. That's like a pressure cooker, but like logically, it doesn't seem like it should be doing that, but that is what was happening. And so now it's just like, okay, I got to get like really real with myself and treat social media more like, or just like let my audience know, this is why I'm here for real. Like, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I hope to provide you. And like, let's talk about how we can both win from this. Because right now it feels like I'm trying to build a business and I am getting word of mouth sales, but it's not personal. And that's what I've been wanting it to be, but I just don't know how to achieve that. And then I've realized, well, it's because I'm trying to be not myself online, even though a lot of me is coming through. It's just not in a way that feels like totally real. And then this is where it gets really confusing. You can't like articulate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to, when you're so far from doing that, it's hard to understand the little things of what makes it be successful. But I'm starting to feel it and understand it from a feeling place, not just a logical place. And I think that's where I'm going to be able to, you know, change the hill from uphill to at least flat.
Sure.
So I can start running a little bit.
Yeah. So you said you want it to be more personal. Is that with the physical like design and the product, or just the interaction you have with the client, or kind of both? Like, so it gives you more, like the whole thing about when you're building a Christmas gift for somebody, you're thinking about them while you're building it, and you're thinking about how excited they might be when they open it, or something like that, like where it's on a personal level. It's not it's hard to achieve with a client, but that's kind of where is that what you mean by personal?
A little bit that. I think also, I think the biggest chunk of what I mean by personal is just like, let people see who I am, all the parts of me, right? Like, even to some degree, here on this podcast, like I'm way more comfortable with you, and
Yeah.
like I'm way deeper, like showing who I am. But like, you don't know that I'm like super into anime or like,
Now I do.
like now you do. But like all these other like little details that, I'm trying to be a professional woodworking business, and I get caught in like, okay, well, what does that look like? Or like, what do people expect that to look like?
Yeah.
And just trying to be like, what if the camera was just following me around all day and like saw me in the shop? Like, that's what I mean by personal.
Mhm.
Like how not only showing my products, but like showing when I make a mistake and I think it's the end of the world and I have to take 2 days off because I just fucked that up. Like, what are the things that I'm doing to like re-regulate, like, and just get back into the shop and tell myself that I can get back in there? Like, just like who am I? Just
Yeah.
more of that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you want a two-way relationship with Instagram, which is super hard because it's literally just you posting and then you're using the internet to hope, to get stuff back. But I think overall you're basically saying you don't want to be an influencer. You want to be a person.
Yeah.
You don't want to fall into the buckets that you think you need to be successful in each space. Cause like you can go look at every woodworking page and be like, oh, that works. Like that's how people act. And everybody does that. And that's how people chase the followers and everything. But I think that's the same thing too with like, how we talk about how even if no one ever views this podcast, I'm still getting value out of it. It's really hard to do with Instagram because where's that post going, right? It's just sitting there. But in reality, it is so fun to scroll back on your own Instagram and see what you were building a year ago. So that's kind of like what you were talking about, like the diary. Like those are timestamps in your own growth and what you were doing for yourself and a business. So like hearing everything that you just described about the relationship between Instagram and how you want to post and the way you think about what you're going to post makes me know I don't want to be an influencer really. Like I want to be a successful woodworking business and I want to have volume in the furniture. I don't really care about the volume in followers as much as I thought I did. And even so we talked last week about I tried boosting a couple posts and I feel like I don't know how worth it was money wise. Like you really will never know, right? Because the dollars don't come from anywhere. But like the one person having interest in the cabinet. So I had a person message me about the Manhattan cabinet from the ad that I posted or from the boosted post. Like that was the post that they messaged from. And they said, I'm interested in this. How can I get it? And so even if they never order it, the fact that I had that interaction, that's what I'm looking for is like the business side of it for me. Like you're looking for the interaction. So it's like a different thing. But like before when I was making the shop renovation videos, which is kind of before we were talking a lot, I was posting them almost every day because like I was making a lot of quick progress. So it was really easy to make reels. Like I'd make a reel every day. So these reels were getting 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 views. And like, you feel like you're on fire and then you got to post again. And it's that urgency you're talking about, but it drives down quality. And to try to circle all the way back, that was like the first thing you said was the urgency. Then you drop quality away. I think that's the biggest thing you want to avoid, especially if you're doing a quality brand, which you are. And that's what I want to avoid. I'm posting right now, like once a week. And I think as long as I'm posting work that like is quality and the video or the picture is decent, because like sometimes it's a pain to make really nice, appealing videos and stuff, then I think that's enough for what my brand wants to represent versus the daily, like just, this is me cutting one piece of wood. That's all you get today because I was barely in the shop today, but I posted like, so, I think hearing everything you said is pushing me to just Instagram's a tool, but I need to focus on the actual business. If that's what I want to do, I don't want me personally, I don't want to be an influencer that does woodworking. I want to be a woodworker that posts so people can find me. So
yeah, sure. Yeah. And like, yeah, a lot of, you talk about quality, and like what was going through my head too was like, quality can be subjective and different, right? And so like, I think, yes, I want my product to be quality. I want my Instagram page to be quality. But again, who's defining that? And I've been trying to like find what everybody else thinks is quality instead of just saying, this is what I think is quality. And then I don't have to think about it. It's just like, yeah, here's what I want to post. And quality for me right now means I'm thinking about the things that help me grow, right? Like that's one of my values, like my main values is growth and curiosity, like those two things. I just want my page to be about that. And it's like, I've been trying to force woodworking to like be that. And it's like, I don't have to do that. I can just be me and be like, hey, this is what I was thinking about this week. It doesn't have to be anything about woodworking, but I was doing this when I thought about it, or like, just be more natural and not try to like make it for Instagram. Just what would I do if a friend was in my shop and was just curious about everything I was doing? Trying to look at it that way.
Sure. I mean, that's going to be really approachable too for people who don't know woodworking, because when we're so deep in this, I think we tailor everything to woodworkers. And I'm trying to step back too, because now that I've figured out my target customer, which is middle-aged women, they don't know a lot about woodworking. My customers don't, right? Unless if somebody knows everything I know about woodworking, they're going to build it themselves. Why am I trying to just jump right to the detail? I think it's an insecurity in my own knowledge. So I feel I got to post about what I know to show, hey, I know how to do this. Where in reality, if I just post what I'm making and just make more stuff that people think is beautiful, then they're going to buy it. They don't need to know necessarily need to know every single thing that I know, right? Or I don't have to prove to anybody what I know. I just need to make nice things. So
yeah.
My wife and I were talking about the word expert and what it means, and she basically called me out one day and just said, like, seems like you've got an issue or like a problem with being perceived as an expert. So I think you're saying you're worried about, I don't have to prove anything, and your target audience is somebody who knows less than you, but it's hard that you automatically try to jump to tailor it to woodworkers. And I'm wondering if that has anything to be like, is it hard for you to label yourself as an expert? Because it is for me. And I wonder, and like, but there's so many different levels of expert, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you even like define or place yourself? Because compared to your target audience, you are the expert. Like you're more expert than they're ever going to care about, right?
Right.
And so how do we get out of getting stuck in that thinking is like a question I've been trying to answer. What do you think? I don't have an answer.
I don't know. Be confident in what you know and confident in what you don't, right? Because it's okay to not know stuff, but you're going to figure it out. It's kind of the way I take on jobs recently with the lathe work that I'm planning, right? So I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'll figure it out. And then I'll be more of an expert in 6 months than I am right now, right? So, I mean, that's the whole growth thing that you're talking about. But yeah, I think the customer just cares about, they're the hero, right? So in my big marketing book, listening to, sales marketing books, it's all about, we're not the hero, they're the hero, and we're solving their problem. And so I'm going to immediately sidestep. So I was just on one train of thought. I'm going to immediately sidestep. I find it interesting how much we talk about Instagram. And I think that's a bigger reflection on where we are as businesses than almost than what we're making, right? And it's kind of like the industry is like Instagram and woodworking, but there are people out there building better furniture that barely post.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's just two different paths, right? Like there's the social media path, and then there's the.
Well, it's like it. So, I mean, there's another thing I've been thinking about this week is, so I've been trying to spend a lot of time thinking about the idea, or even meditating about the idea of like, what are things that actually get me excited? And like, I was stuck in a job for many, many years that eventually I just hated. And like, there's a big part of me that feels like real excitement that is just like that the other shoe's not going to drop and take all the fun out of it. It's been a while since I've felt any of that. I feel a lot of that going into this new shop with Nate Iverson, but and like, so anyway, I digress. One of the things that I want to like that's been getting me more excited is like, I'm just gonna not do custom orders for a long time, and I'm just gonna like figure out what, like find that thread of excitement, hold on to it, and like just run full speed and like get that thing done. Where if I never had to think about Instagram again, and like I was doing only the thing I wanted, I'd probably be just like building pieces of furniture that take multiple years to finish. And I get 5 projects done in a decade, and like,
sure.
then I never have to post anything about it. But then is the income coming in? And like, there's still the worry, and there still is reality around like getting people or like a customer base. And so like Instagram's just like the tool of the modern age to make that happen, and it's free, and to some degree it's free. You can pay for it. And so there are those people out there who are making way better furniture, but I think I'd be hard pressed if you told me that it was somebody our age,
sure,
who like already had an established customer base and didn't like I don't know how you do that today.
Right.
I think it's like necessary evil.
Instagram is the biggest promotional tool that woodworkers have at their disposal right now, is what it feels like. So that's why everybody's on it, and that's why you feel like you got to be doing it, because it's for promotion, right? But I think there are just other ways, and there are like, I know Instagram's fully valuable, and I'm going to continue. It's not like I'm going to stop posting, and I'm going to keep trying to push it. And I know I'm going to care about every like I get, and I'm going to care about the followers, because that's just what Instagram is done to all of our brains. Like, that's what we care about. But at the end of the day, you got to worry about your product too. You got to worry about yourself, like how you're feeling. You got to worry about just like the money flow too. Like, are you quoting correctly and like breaking even, or like not breaking even? That's what I'm trying to do currently with like buying new tools and having each job pay for a tool. My mindset is still break even. But it's not just the promotion part. Like, the promotion part of the business is just like that marketing and sales stuff that we're using Instagram to do. And that's that tool. But then it's like, in 10 years, what's that tool going to be? Is it still going to be Instagram? Possibly. But like, if we're so narrowly focused on Instagram, we might miss something else or not be broad enough. And I know personally, I, in public, don't like to talk about, I feel like an asshole if I'm talking about my stuff and nobody asked. So I am very bad at being like, oh, this happened to me today. Like, somebody has to ask me, like, what's going on? Unless I'm trying to like go on a rant and be funny and be like, oh yeah, this person did this, that was stupid. Then I'll talk about myself. But like, no, if nobody asks me, like if we're at a family birthday party, or if we're at something, nobody's like, oh, how's Whiskey Woodshop doing? I'm not talking about it. And I think that's my own type of like fake humility, trying to like, if you don't bring it up, if they ask, then you're being humble, right? So there's something in there where I'm not promoting myself, and that's with relatives. That's with my wife. Like, I won't really tell her how my day was unless she asks, which kind of sucks. Like, she shouldn't have to interrogate me every day on how my day was. Like, we should just have a dialogue. But that's I think something in me where I just try to I'm just hanging out over here, and I just
Yeah.
feel rude if I'm just talking about myself, like I'm doing right now. So
No, I get
anyway, it around other people that might be potential customers too, like anybody, like people I work with, people, friends of friends, they don't know I'm a woodworker unless
Mm.
they happen to see it on Instagram somehow. But I'm standing right next to them at work.
Yeah.
I'm having a conversation. We're joking about something, the weather. Like what'd you do this weekend? I got some stuff done and hung out. What'd you get done? Oh, now that you asked, I was in the wood shop. And then I stopped talking and let them ask about the wood shop. But I can't get myself to just like talk and like self-promote through my own word of mouth. I'm relying on other people's word of mouth, and that's silly. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I think that all that sounds true for me too. Like, I think I apply all that to myself. Like, I see it at last jobs. There'd be people who would be really surprised to be like, oh my gosh, this is what you made? Like, holy crap. And they have no idea. And so that's why, yeah, that's why I brought up what I did. I'm trying to change my relationship with it, right? Bring it back more to relationship, not, hey, I'm laser focused on this thing that I want to be doing. I also want it to be about like, how does what I do fit into the world, or like, I guess who I am, how does that fit into this world and the community that I put out there online, and try to find some kind of symbiotic relationship, not just I'm a business by my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think, I mean, that's just culture too, is that American culture seems to just like say, hey, what's the thing that you want to do? And there's a lot about passion. A lot of people don't get to a point where they believe that they can pursue their passion and align that with their business goals, which is that's totally okay. There needs to be some people who don't do that. But yeah, our culture is just like, let's be like all about this really good thing and focus on what I need to do. And then we forget about how are we exactly what other people need, and how do I need them too, like in more ways than just business needs.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been exploring that, and yeah, there's a lot there. We could talk about it forever, but I'm starting to get centered in that, grounded in that.
Yeah, I think your reflections help me reflect it like 10 times. Like, you're doing all the legwork for me over here, and I'm just taking treats off the top. Cause like, my business is not Instagram posting is the end of what I'm thinking here. My business is not Instagram posting. My business is woodworking.
Mm-hmm.
And Instagram is a promotional tool that I need to use. And I'm not going to stop using it. It's great. It's nice. Lots of posts.
Yeah.
Some followers, a couple. But like the urgency to post, just don't post. The most urgent posts that I have, like when I'm like, I got to get this off because it's an optimal time for like engagement and everything. Those don't even do that well because I rush them, or or even if they do well, they do not as good as I wanted them to. So then I still am disappointed, but it's just like, just be consistent with that's what I'm doing in other avenues of life too. So yeah.
Yeah. If you can just find a way that it's really comfortable and you don't have to think twice, you just think the one time, hey, I want to do that. Okay, I'm going to go do that. And that's all there is to it. Now maybe you can hit one a day, right? Like,
sure.
But if you're focused on the one a day, then pressures are going to creep in without realizing that they're pressure. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to step away. Part of taking my breaks and getting away from commissions is like, my long-term goals are definitely, the most magic happens inside of like a one-on-one relationship for me, like with a customer who has this really like cool idea, and then I get to like sprinkle in, a little bit more, and then like, oh my gosh, that's like way cooler than I imagined.
Sure.
And so like, that's definitely where I see like the most fun parts of my business. But I'm just realizing that right now I got to take a big detour and get as far away from that as I can, because I don't know how to believe in myself enough that I'm going to like cross all the T's and dot all the I's in a way that I don't have to explain myself to my customer.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So you're trying to be perfect.
I mean, I think just subconsciously, I'm always trying to be what they want me to be rather than me being who I want to be.
Sure.
And like, as soon as that customer, it's me and another person, I lose sight of discerning which is which.
Okay.
And that's because of a lot of anxiety built up over a lot of years. It's a self-image problem that built up over a lot of years. And I gotta just like separate, do my own thing for a while, build my confidence back. And that's both in my work and my relationship with public forums, and just, but yeah, it just seems like the right thing. It's just so far away from like what I know is going to bring the bills, right? Like pay the bills right now.
Yeah.
So there's so much fear, and just exposing myself, being me, putting myself out there. But I think taking these steps is going to get me to a place where either I don't care anymore and I'm going to just be able to do whatever I want to do, or just like have it feel totally natural and like actually get what I want back from Instagram.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're going to not take custom orders for, you don't know how long yet?
It's going to be a long hiatus.
Yeah. So, but I'm confused slightly, because that's where that excitement comes from, based on what I heard you just say.
I can't protect myself well enough to make sure that dynamic is exciting right now. Like I've been learning a lot about myself, but I haven't been learning. The one thing I haven't been learning, like I'm learning boundaries. I'm learning like how I can make a contract and we can talk about all this stuff up front. And so like I'll protect myself from like, what if the person like introduces scope creep? Okay, I know how to handle, like I'll charge a little bit more. Like I know all these things to do. But even though I know how to do those and handle those things, like the anxiety of like, ooh, it changed. Like I no longer feel like I have all the freedom, just like really gets in my nervous system. And like, so I just have to like get myself away from that for a while and get to a place where I'm the only one who has influence over what I'm doing right now. And if I can get to a place where I'm excited about what that's doing, then I'll feel comfortable enough to come back. Let's do these really cool custom orders. And cause yeah, like I really do perceive every like hiccup as, oh shoot, I'm not good enough. And I know I can see how like from the outside, like that might seem ridiculous to some people, but like it's super true to me, where it's just like quickly I start beating myself up and can't. The excitement's gone, even though I know it should be here right now.
Sure.
It's like I'm so worried about, am I in a safe situation?
Okay.
And
yeah. So in that way, you're kind of where you were starting. You want to be in full control over the creativity that you put into the piece. So you're kind of making art now and not custom furniture.
For a bit. Yep.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, that's just a different avenue, but I think that's where we all kind of got inspired, is through the art part of it.
Yeah. And right. And I think that, yeah, I just want to explore it and see what happens. And I think, figure out, I don't know. I keep picturing like in my head, this might sound stupid, but like, just like I read a lot of fantasy novels, so I like think in terms of like a grand like odyssey. It's like, okay, we know what the main goal is, but we know we're not strong enough for that, so we gotta go sail the seas for a bit and just do this other thing. It's like that's very much like what I pictured it. Like it definitely feels like a goodbye away from where I know I was headed, but it also feels necessary and like there's a lot here that I gotta do for myself that I haven't been giving myself permission to do enough stuff for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this is a business about me, it is about other people too. But for me to, again, do what I really want to do for other people, I gotta feel the most confident in myself. So it's just a step
Sure.
I know I need to take. Yeah. So it is like counterintuitive from how we've been talking from episode 1 to like where we are, but it's cool that this has really been like a seed to help me. And you also, I got to point this out too right now. You said that me reflecting is helping you reflect like tenfold. But first of all, that's just like music to my ears, because that's like at the end of the day, that's what I hope to be for people.
Right.
Of like from myself, but also like I want you to realize that having the conversation with you like focuses my reflection back to me too, and so I'm getting a lot from it too. And so that's how I want Instagram to feel like that. Like that's what I want at the end of the day. I want to have a magnifying glass. Let's look at something, and then hear what everybody else has to say, and then that's usually the information that's like, oh, those are the perspectives I needed to hear, so I can do some growing.
Sure.
Right. So that's. So
I'm figuring all that out. No, that all sounds great, and like you see both sides, which is the important part, right? Like you can see how, as soon as you can see how you're thinking, you're in a good spot, right? So, but like, do you think Instagram is the right avenue for what you're asking from it? Or I'm not saying it's not, like, because it'll take work to get that out of it, because I don't know that it was built for what you want out of it. I admire that that's what you're looking for, but I do think I'm pretty excited now for when we actually get this thing rolling and people are maybe commenting and maybe they listen to the whole thing. Because I think it's going to be those YouTube comments on videos like this, or reviews, or direct messages that come from anybody who sits through this.
Sure.
Where you had said earlier, this is a more direct look at the real you. You had already said that. So like, this might be that avenue to really push that part of what you're looking for, where Instagram maybe it's not built for that, and it's not as like the algorithm doesn't support that as much, or the messenger isn't as robust, depending on it doesn't have as many interactive features. It's more show and tell is almost Instagram, right? So it might be interesting to see if this fills that pressure inside you to go help people. I'm just excited to see maybe if this kind of takes that on a little better than Instagram can, just by the way it's built.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, and you're onto something. I think we're gonna see that. But at the same time, it's like, by me trying to change the nature of my relationship with Instagram, I'm definitely not dismissing what this could give us too, or in that regard. But also, like just seeing how it's been for us, where it's just like, hey, you and I are having a conversation and just talking through things. Like that's, if I could show up on Instagram that way, which I don't, because of lots of fears and all the things, right? Just all of the things. I'm still going to challenge myself to do that, because I know that it's going to take longer than it has for us to get comfortable doing this. And that part of that's repetition. But anything that's uncomfortable, I wholeheartedly believe is something that you should be doing.
Yes. And
it's not, you can't get too overboard and only do things that make you uncomfortable, because then you'll get really weighed down. But I just see it as, you're totally right. I don't think Instagram is the best, the best vehicle for that type of relationship. But I want to challenge myself to be able to show up that way, so I can show up with whatever new tool comes.
Right.
Like, I don't know what's going to be the next thing after TikTok, but we're probably going to have to evolve and try to be on it, And so.
Yeah. And I think where I was kind of eventually going to with that, which I didn't even know until you kept going there, was just don't be as hard on yourself with with the Instagram part, because like you're going to try to show up like that, but know that it's not built like that. So you trying to do that is a noble effort, and you're doing what you want to do, and it's not going to work perfectly because it literally just isn't made for that at first. So it'll be a great tool to like direct people to this this content right here, where you're actually working through it each episode, and you're building it out, and you're expanding on it. It's not just like you only have so much time in a story, you only have so much time in an Instagram post, unless you post 20 times a day, but then no one will want to see that, right? So like it's just a different platform where you're still doing a good job of representing how you want to look. It's just not you just don't have the tools on there to do it how you feel like you should almost. So just know you're already doing a good job, even though it might not feel like you're doing it right. I think you are, but it's just not made for that.
Yep, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, so that was a long section of how my week was. How was your week?
Well, big pivot. My week was good. My week was good. I got paid. I had an install. So for me, not having many jobs, that feels amazing. So I installed the barn door. Thank you for the referral. Installed the barn door. That went fairly smooth. I had a buddy come with, and we were decked out in whiskey woodshop gear and just did it. The door thickness was a little thin for the hardware that was purchased. So we had to get a little creative, and there was a trip to the hardware store to accommodate for that. So the handle, basically is like a black handle that just is metal, and then there's a bracket on the back with some Allen head screws that come through, and the screws bottom out probably at about 1 inch, I'd guess. So the door is 3/4 inch though, so then the handle would just be loose. So also the guy installing with me the stud finder wasn't working right, so above the opener, or above the opening that we were covering the door with, he couldn't find any studs, and it's because it was all a header. And he installs every day. He's a renovator, and it was just not cooperating. Like it found studs off to the side, but he thought they had done a cross beam, and then there was no real header over that opening because there's no door hung. Obviously, it's just an opening. So he was thinking it was just a cross beam and they just drywalled it versus a real header. So we ran to the hardware store. We got the kit that had the rails for the barn door did not have good drywall anchors. They were trash. So we got some nice toggle or whatever you call them, better drywall anchors. And then we got some black washers that matched the black handle, and I was able to find the exact diameter of the handle. So like you could not tell that there are washers there to space out the gap that the material would have needed. I didn't tell the client, but I don't even think the client would notice. And it honestly kind of looks like a feature because it just has some little, like I just had to use 3 washers or so on the two handle spots. So it looks super clean, no issue at all. And then it turns out when we were actually drilling our holes, there's a whole header there. So we didn't have to use the toggles, and we just hammered that in. So I think we were in and out within about hour 45. We had to put all the hardware in on site because we weren't planning on installing, right? So
I was going to ask that.
Otherwise I would have asked for the hardware to ship to me, and then I would have had it pre-installed, and then all we would have had to do is hang the rail. But I had to measure all the holes, drill through, make sure I don't have any like tear out because it's already pre-finished. So I was being very careful, try not to drill through my truck bed, just being very nice to it outside in the driveway. So, I made the adjustments and it went smooth. He's a great installer, and I was way more prepared than I am normally for install. I had I had multiple bags set out, and I had every tool you might need, and they were organized, and it felt way more legit. So I can see in the future, I'm going to have my install kit, and I'm not going to, those are just my normal shop tools. So I've got my drill, my 2 impacts, my, And I got to put that all in my install kit. In the future, eventually I'll have my install kit that just lives in my truck. By that time, I might have a van or something. I'm assuming I'll need to switch to a van at some point. But yeah, so he's installed with me before. He installed at a brewery with me before. He's really easy to work with. So he'll be doing I've got that built in coming up in a couple weeks. So I just started with that. And yeah, he's the one that let me borrow the Festool track saw, which changed my life a little bit. It's so annoying that I have to give it back. I mean, it's his, but it's such a damn nice tool. Like I squared up the barn door with it, and I was like, okay, that's all I need it for. It's 4 cuts. So he's like, sweet, whatever. And so last night I was starting on this built-in. So I fixed the drawings because when I model, sometimes when I'm modeling for a quote, I get my render ready, and sometimes halfway through modeling, you realize that something's like a 1/4 inch off.
Yeah, or not square.
Yeah, like there's just something doesn't made up because you fat fingered something over here. So like you got to circle back and change that. But when I'm doing renders, I can move it up that 1/4 inch and you won't see it.
Yeah.
So as long as the render looks good, it's a win. The biggest thing is you got to make sure you remember that or write it down before making prints for it and building it. So I knew that I had to change this by a 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch or something. So I went through and fixed all my drawings, ran to Menards, which do you buy much plywood?
Sort of. I usually get Baltic birch and I cover it up if I'm using plywood, but Menards is good for all the cover.
Honestly, yeah, for the built-ins I do, like the 3/4 inch birch, like it's not Baltic birch, but it works just fine. Like I face frame everything, so I don't have exposed edges. Like it's hard material, it's fine. So Rand got the material, and then I was starting to break it down last night. I was just flowing, I was in the flow. I had my cut sheet already, which is the best feeling in the world when you're not thinking about how to get all the cuts out of the ply. Like I know I need these cuts out of these pieces. And then I had all my, like I just cut strips to size, right? So if I need 15 inch wide, 24 inch long shelves, I was just cutting 15 inch wide. And then I was going to come back so I could have all my strips lined up against the wall. And then I know that I have all my pieces in that. And I need to do the cross cuts on all those. And I was like, okay, so I'll just use the miter. I'll cut, flip, cut, because my miter's only 12 inches or whatever it is. And some of these are bigger than that. But I have a Festool track saw sitting in the shop because he hasn't picked it up yet. So I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I told him I'd only do 4 cuts, but he's not going to care if I do another 10 cuts out of, or whatever it was, 20 cuts out through the ply. So I just flew through cutting the rest of these to size, and they were the squarest cuts you've ever seen. And there was no tear out because I did it right on my sacrificial table. And like my miter, cut, flip, cut, it's usually pretty good, but it's never like perfect, right? Because it's 2 cuts. Like you're never going to get it. Oh my God, I need a Festool track saw is all I'm saying after that last night. Sweet. Oh, so
I told you, man, it's one of those ones where it's just, it only takes 1 cut to get addicted.
So I don't know where Festool is even located, but if they need a design engineer or anything, I will apply because they're doing well for their product design. Like their stuff works. So yeah, I mean, that was a fun, I never have fun breaking down plywood, and that was fun. So that was
fun. Okay. Yeah, that's saying a lot. That's quite good.
I was just playing with the track saw, right? And I'm not used to it yet. So it was really nice to just have a bunch of perfect cuts. Except one cut I worked the other direction for the first time, and I forgot about the blade width. I put my line on the wrong, so pretty standard for me at least. So one cut wrong out of 20 or whatever, but now I'll be able to put that thing together. But I have to balance that project and the lathe project.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have a shop schedule for the first time ever, which is wild. Like I've got these 2 jobs, 2 active jobs, and then I've got the one guy who's got me on the hook for the cabinet. I hope he sends the deposit, but you never know. It was just an Instagram guy, right? So, yeah, I've got those 2, and then I'm quoting another really small project today, hopefully, for a friend. So that'll just be a small box for like a synthesizer case. He does like music production stuff. So just gonna make a really small box and paint it. So
what does the preliminary shop schedule look like?
Yeah, so I've got my shop hours, which we've talked about. So I'm still a full-time engineer for anybody who hasn't heard any previous episodes. So I've got, for a long time, I never had a shop schedule. So like shop hours. So I never knew what I could get done in a week. It was all like free time, but I've got a wife, I've got a dog, I've got friends, I've got family. So it's like things come up and you need to hang out with everybody and you need to go do things and spend time with your wife and all this stuff. And before I would over predict what I could get done in a week, or sometimes rarely I would under predict, and then I would have some free time and then not know what to do with myself because I have the shop time. It's like, oh, what would be the most efficient if I worked on this or this or this or this. So now I've got straight up shop hours where I work 12 hours a week in the shop. And so it's Mondays, 8 to 10, Tuesdays, 6 to 8. And so that's what we're doing here is Tuesdays. Wednesdays, 6 to 10. So that's a 4-hour day. So that's like a big chunk progress day.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays, 8 to noon. So that's my 12. And then if there are flex times, I'll figure out what to do with them. But I intentionally don't go in the shop until 8 o'clock on a Monday. But that allows me to actually do my responsibilities around the house. Like I can mow the lawn, I can fix something around the house or make something for the house or whatever it is. Like I could still go in the shop, but it's not about Whiskey Woodshop when I'm in there at that time.
Sure.
It's about life, right? So by having that real shop hours, which I was struggling to get for a long time, I was kind of asking my wife to give me the hours almost. But in reality, I just needed to propose something and say, is this reasonable? Like, these are the hours I want. Can we do this? So, it's been, we talked about it when I first locked him in. It's been amazing. And, a couple of people I tell, they joke with me like, oh, you gave up so much time. You only got 12 hours but it's like, hey, I can plan my 12 hours so well and know that I should have that time. And I was dealing with a ton of guilt before where I feel bad about if my wife doesn't have something to do or friends coming over or an activity to go do. I would just feel terrible going in the shop because it's like I'm ditching her and that's more important than she is. And it's not. But I felt like I'd need to do it, especially if I had a job that was paying. Then it's like, I got to get in there. Like, when am I going to get this done?
Right.
So now it's all on me and I can manage my own time really well. It's hard to manage 2 people's time. So
for sure. Yeah.
Now I can make realistic quotes, realistic expectations on myself. I can get done with the week and not be mad at myself for not getting enough done, which was happening every single week. I'd literally get so much done and people would be like, how was your weekend? I'm like, I'd complain about doing really well, but it's like, it wasn't enough because I was just hunting for it so hard.
Sure.
So,
and having the schedule also eliminates too much time too on the other end of things too. You're kind of capping it, which is good.
So I don't have a burnout now. It's just shop time is good, and then I can plan ahead. So I've got now that I've got these 2 or 3, 2.5 jobs that are active. I have time scheduled. So tomorrow I'm working on the tap handles.
Sure.
Whether I want to or not, I'm going to do that because I need to.
But you're breaking that up throughout the week, so you're not just tap handles until they're done and then the next.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a spreadsheet where I know my rough hours, and that's going to help me by tracking them. I'm going to know how many hours I put in, know if I got the rate that I wanted to out of the job better. Like all of this is going to help me. I'll be able to just track just overhead way better, just knowing what even really went into the project versus some projects you don't want to know at the end. You're like, okay, I don't really want to know how many hours I spent on that. So,
so you got the lathe. I can't wait to know what you learned about it. You sent
sure.
me a text, so I saw that you ran it.
Yep. Yeah, I ran it. I just tried 2 pieces of scrap, just some walnut, and I was very timid of it. At first, or scared of it. It's a better way to say it. I didn't have a face shield yet, so I was taking it very easy. I had safety glasses, and I wore my dust mask and my hat and my earmuffs to just try to block as many things as I could. It wasn't that hard. My hand got tired of sitting on the rail or the knife. I don't even know what they call it. That's how inexperienced I am.
The thing.
Crossbar, the tool support, or you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
So, but I was just playing with it for a while. So I was taking it really slow at first. First, I just rounded out a piece of square stock, and then I turned it into some weird chess piece looking thing, like just tried some different stuff. And then I made a top out of walnut. So then I just spun the top. It spun. Cool. So then that's all I've done on the lathe so far.
Okay.
And then now I've got to actually, my workbenches are very high. I have them like 41 inches off the ground.
That's way high.
40 and a half, something like that. Cause the half lean, the half bend over where your back starts on fire is my least favorite thing in the world. I would rather have my shoulders be sore from like lifting. Like I can do shoulder stuff, but my back, I'm trying to protect my back, but.
Good on you. Mine, I'm struggling with that right now. So you're way ahead of me.
Raise your benches. I love my high benches. Like it's so nice. So I need to make something where the lathe is actually at a comfortable arms through. Like I can't work up here with a lathe. There's no chance. I had it on my table saw stand, which is lower.
Yeah.
And that just has the table saw flush with my workbench because I use the workbench as an outfeed. So, but I need my table saw. I don't want to keep moving them back and forth every time. The lathe is pretty heavy and annoying. So got to make a base for it. So that'll be tomorrow. And then if I have time, I'm going to start on the duplicator jig that I think we kind of talked about last week too. So
yeah.
What
was it like? Did it take all the intimidating stuff out of it? Like just running it? Just playing with it probably made you feel a lot better. Yeah.
I mean, things are not that complicated, and anybody who thinks they know a lot about something, nothing's that hard. Okay. So like just take it slow at first and figure it out, and respect the tool is just all you got to do. So next week I'll be missing like 3 fingers, and I'll be like, nothing that hard. But no, it was easy. I just took it real slow, and then you start to feel how much you can actually take off. You can hear it, you can feel it in your hand pretty quickly. I mean,
was it a good experience? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, my neck hurt just from sitting down for a little while, so I can't do it for. I was about to say I can't do it for hours and hours, but I'm gonna have to do it for hours and hours. If I get the duplicator going, things will start to flow, and I'll take them in chunks. So
I'll have to monitor you because there's been lots of folks who are the turners. I think I've mentioned this before at the craft shows. They're all people who started in your typical woodworking. They got a lathe and then they never look back. And I'm curious to see if you get those big dopamine rushes from the lathe.
There is something cool. Like the first piece I turned, I wish I had it here. I was gonna put it on the desk just to keep because it's the first thing I turned. Of course, I'm gonna keep it, right? It's round, and you're like,
when you're watching it with your hands take away and make a shape, right? Like a free form shape. Like that's
and it's not like it's an organic shape.
Yeah.
and nothing else we do makes organic shapes.
Right.
Like the steam bend, it's not even really there. You know, like using a router to make a round over, that's not the same as like it's just a round piece that turned, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
yeah, I don't think I had a big enough rush after being done with that
Yeah.
it's gonna be me. I can't imagine making bowls every day. Like, I don't know. I also don't have a chuck, so I can only turn containers right now, but that's all I need to right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep an eye on it because I was thinking it's funny, and it's I know once I get one, I'll be stuck there for a little bit.
I mean, it's fun. I'm definitely gonna like try to incorporate it. Like I want to, have some round leg or like tapered legs on cabinets or side tables. Like that's gonna be fun to have the option. Like it just lets me do a lot of different stuff. I can probably do some like spindle stuff in projects, or like little rods or little drawer pulls, or there's like little stuff, but big parts is all going to be. And I like making big furniture. I want to be able to step back.
Sure.
Something about the size. It just feels like it shouldn't exist. And I think that's where I get the hit, is where I can step back, sit and look at something and say, I made that. What the hell just happened? Like, I don't get it.
Gotcha.
It's a good feeling. So I'm trying to think what else happened in the week. There's been a lot of weird quoting going on, which is scary because like I've only ever had one project, finished it, begged for the next project, finished it, begged for the next project. And then now I've got 3 that are like they're going to happen.
Yeah.
2 are already happening. One's going to happen. It's that cheap project, but it's something. And then I've got another one that maybe the deposit could show up at any day. So that one's kind of weird. And then at the install on Saturday, your friend had said, she's friends with this interior designer who did her house, and she was talking to her about me. And I was like, okay, whoa, calm down. I was like trying to tell myself to calm down. It's like interior designers were somebody I was like trying to pursue actively. And so, because my thought was like, if I get in with an interior designer, that's just a custom furniture feeder, right? Like it might not be super often, but it's something. And then you get your name out there too. So, I messaged them and hopefully that someday turns into something, but
good.
Never know.
Yeah. So you're picking up a little bit of momentum from your usual. That's cool.
Way more than normal. So that's why I'm like word of mouth right now. Like I'm trying to just act like a woodworker, not be afraid of being a woodworker, jokingly in front of some people. Like I've met some people, and I think I might've told you this already, but like my wife will be like, oh, that's my husband, Matt. They're like, oh, hey, Matt, nice to meet you. What do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a woodworker. Like I've introduced myself as a woodworker before, which is really fun. Because then she'll like smack me and be like, he's an engineer. But like, I don't feel like an engineer. I mean, I am one. I think I'm a good one. But like, it's not what I care about right now.
Just for the job you want, not the one you have. Kind of, you're testing it out.
Yeah, trying it. Seeing how it goes. Seeing what people want to talk about. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I still get weird about what do you do for a living? I'm always like, I do woodworking, and because it's so hard. Yeah, we've talked about this too. You almost have to show them. You can't.
You have to show them.
Say this is what I do, because there's so many different things that could mean.
Oh, you're a woodworker? You make epoxy river tables?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take one. Yeah. You're like, not quite, dude. Yeah.
Not this time.
Oh.
I could. Yeah.
Different market. No shade on epoxy river tables. I don't like epoxy. It's too intimidating. So
I know we said that 2 episodes we would never do it, but I saw this one guy on Instagram who does a lot of like CNC work where he'll cut out like patterns and fill that in with epoxy. And it's like, I can see that. So I just started to open my mind up to it a little bit.
I mean, that makes sense for your style.
Yeah.
It's not a whole big chunk of plastic suspended in the air.
Right. I don't want that. It can be an accent. And so I've opened it up to that. So we'll see what I come up with here.
I'd go for it. No, like
Still
not
hate
a
the
pour
smell.
box is bad, right? The big deep pours are, I don't know that I'd want to build a form and do the, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah. And for me, it's just like, well, I don't like the way it looks, but I think I've got to try it once.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll go well.
Eventually.
I mean, it'll be good. But yeah, today something weird happened. I got a call from a lumber dealer, which doesn't happen to me. So they are local. They started up the last 4 or 5 months, and I feel terrible that I don't remember their name. But they take downed trees in the Twin Cities and mill them up, and so it's sustainable and everything. So
yeah, awesome.
They're wanting me to come check out the shop and everything, and they're like, where do you get your wood normally? I said, Iverson. I just shop at Iverson. They're like, okay, yeah, we can compete with most Iverson prices and da-da-da. And I was like, I felt bad talking to him. I was like, don't let Nate know I'm talking to you right now. But no, I think they're just looking for more traffic and stuff. But I don't know what your thoughts are on like the sustainability part of woodworking. That's a pretty big topic that they go for.
Yeah.
And you might have a good perspective since you use a lot of exotic woods too.
Yeah. So like, I definitely don't always feel good about getting exotics because you never know. Like even for like the mills here in the Twin Cities, I don't think the lumber industry is one that's as heavily regulated as like, I'm an engineer, so I was an engineer, right? So like the things we were making, you had to like prove, like you had to have certificates of conformance for like multiple things before you ship something. So you knew every material came from this lot, this facility, this date, this time, and it was made at that facility at this time.
Yep.
I don't think the lumber industry is like that. So it's great to hear like that there's somebody doing that. I mean, you almost want to try them out just because they're doing it that way. And when we have Nate on, we should definitely ask him about it, or even like warm him up to that in case he needs like more information. But yeah, it's a serious question. And like the nice thing about wood is that it's, a renewable resource, so that's good.
And fairly quickly too, like in the grand scheme of things, like trees grow fast. Like compared to a lot of like within our lives, trees grow fast.
So. Right. And like I think there's way more like trees than we could ever mill and process through mills. Like it'd take way too long for how many actually businesses do that.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that there aren't better ways to do things. So yeah, I don't really know much, but it's an interesting question. I'd love to know more about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going after a certain market, so it makes sense. And I was worried about pricing. If the sustainability part is so heavy, then they can charge whatever they want, right? So this tap handle project I'm working on, those tap handles are kind of the goal with them, based on the brewery that is ordering them, is to have it fully Minnesota made.
Okay.
Within reason though, right? So I think the ferrules, like the bottom piece, I can show you what it looks like. The ferrules, I think, are technically made out of the US, but like down to the component level, it's not. But I'm in Minnesota. I'm handcrafting them. The person making the decals is from Minnesota. They're hand making the decals, but who knows where their adhesive or their vinyl is coming from or whatever, So it's hard to go fully traceable all the way down to every single component. But I think I might. They're trying to get me to come to their shop just to check it out and talk to them.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I don't know if they were trying to pitch some kind of project that would benefit both of us kind of thing. So I'm guessing I'm going to get some kind of like, we'll give you the wood and you build something, like, and promote us, or I don't know what they're going to do. But anyway, this is what a ferrule looks like for the bottom of the tap handle. It's just metal. And so These, I think the ones I ordered for the 100 of them, I think they might be from overseas. But either way, I might get the maple that I need for those 100 tap handles from them, and then let the brewery know, hey, like this is all Minnesota dropped trees. Like these are trees that fell down or had to be dropped. So they're more sustainable, and I bet they'll go for that because that's kind of the brand they're chasing here. So
yeah, that'd be sweet. And yeah, like I wouldn't worry. I mean, sorry, Nate, if you're listening, but I wouldn't worry too much about, trying other things out and like.
Oh no,
yeah. I mean, abundance mindset. There's going to be enough business for everybody. We just gotta all help lift each other up, right? So never doing anything wrong.
For sure. And I'm definitely afraid of the. There are other reasons I wouldn't want the street drop trees, because you can run into nails. You can run into. There's a lot of other stuff I don't want to deal with.
I'm really curious about what the quality of it is going to be, because I mean, I know like the nicest, densest trees are, in forests where they, get a lot of like wind, right? So they're like moving all the time, and so that grows their root structure bigger, so they can grow taller and bigger and denser. So I'm curious to, like, city trees might be a lot different, but I'd be really curious to see like the quality of one slab next to another mill.
Yeah. Do you have any desire to come with? I mean, I can let you know when I'm going. I don't know when it'll be yet, but I can text you about it. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sweet,
cool.
Some big project stuff coming up then. Yeah, I like. You can buy their wood from anywhere, but like, there's something about the way Nate did it that I just respect with like the Facebook thing, and then he's just
absolutely
committing to it so hard that that's why I want to support him so much. Like, obviously I buy wood other places, but it's just a business model that I'm trying to do too, in a way, way different scale, but like it's the same kind of thing. So I want to support that. But, I think these guys are kind of doing that too, where it's new for them. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and if they can, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to keep going with Iverson. Like, I've just never had a bad quality piece of lumber. But if this other place fulfills a different need, like, then there's a reason to go with them, right?
Yeah.
And Nate knows what he's about, so he provides what he provides, and that's what his customers want. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So we are getting almost to 10 episodes. How are you feeling?
Good. It's been a lot more comfortable than I imagined it was going to be. I still do a lot of ums and likes and whatever, but that's just
it's natural.
It's not going to go away.
It's going to happen. We're not giving speeches here.
Yeah, like what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, I think, it is it's helping me a lot in a lot of different ways, that some I expected, some I didn't expect. Like, I'm more intentional. It seems like the ideas of the way that I want to go about things, the iteration process is a lot faster, just because I'm getting to talk to you in depth about a lot of these things, so it's like I'm figuring out where I'm going faster.
Cool.
So that's been super good. Yeah, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about being nervous to share it, and I still have that, right? So, I mean, we'll get over it eventually.
Yeah.
But it's comfortable. I'm always good at blabbing, talking about whatever, and good information that I've been able to get from you, and then just watching you reflect allows me to do as well, and try to give little jolts of my perspective in there too, to see where it goes. So no, it's been good. And I'm excited also, we've talked about having people on every once in a while too. So that'll be fun to kind of just throw other people in the mix and see what happens. So
for sure.
Yeah.
It's getting momentum and a little bit of a life of its own. So I'm excited to see what keeps happening. Cause there's something to be said about two guys just getting and talking about their week, but I see it evolving into, different areas too, where it's like, people start responding and want our outlooks on things. I'll be excited to, help with that too. So like, I'm nervous with you. I'm right there with you. Just, who knows what's going to happen. But at this point, I've been extremely satisfied with just what it's been giving me, even if we don't release it. So from that point of view, it's been super awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sweet. And that's a good point too, with other people's feedback and responding to it. So we can take it anywhere. It's so free form to where we can have segments where we talk about something that was really, really a good point that we heard, or somebody's really trying to think through something, and then maybe we reflect too, even though maybe we're not the expert on whatever they're trying to do, or maybe we are compared to whatever they're working with. But just even outside points of view that don't know anything about what you're doing can drastically help you, which I'm trying to take to heart too. When I'm just talking to somebody at work who doesn't really know what I'm working on at home, or doesn't and they're like, oh, what about this? And you're like, oh, whatever. And then you think about it and you're like, oh, wait, okay. I don't have a great example, but I think that's generic in life. Like, if you think that you can only take advice from people who do the same thing that you do, you're all stuck in a rut. Where if you take advice from people who don't have any idea what you're doing, you kind of get a good mix. So
that's relationship. So I want more of that from my social media. So that's it.
That's connection. It right there. Yeah. Well, any other big stuff this week? Anything planned for next week?
Next week, I scheduled the photo shoot with that company you recommended.
There you go.
That's right after Thanksgiving, so that's not next week, but that's really the next thing on the horizon for me. And then I'm moving the shop, so I'm starting to.
I'm not jealous.
I'm starting to just organize a little bit, get those logistics figured out. So that's mostly this week. And then I got to finish the accessories for the table. So I'm still not 100% done with those. Those are the three main things on my to-do list.
You'll have them for the video though?
Yeah. They'll definitely be ready by then. And then,
Are you having actors, or are you going to do static shoot?
We're mostly doing a static shoot. We're going to have, me and him might be there to roll dice or something, but
sure. Just
nothing crazy.
Moderate dynamic movement through the
it's not going to be shots of people. It's just be hands moving accessories, or
cool. Just the form and function of it versus the whole party or whatever. Yeah, that'd be a lot to shoot anyway, and I don't know that you need to be. There are a lot of ducks to have in a row to pull that off like that. That's a lot. So that's exciting. They're going to shoot that for you.
Yeah, be sweet. What about you? So you've got these projects you're working on. Quote. What's the quote tonight that you're working on?
That's just for a small box. It's going to hold a synthesizer. It's like a little case.
That's right. Yeah, the music thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So this is for the client's friend. He already has a box, but he's thinking about upgrading. And what I want to do is make him a whole really nice desk for this, to where it's all the little. I don't know anything about what he does really. It's hobby synthesizing, so he works on soundtrack stuff.
Sure.
For just a lot of ambient music and different. I don't know. He makes music, but I know there's a lot of little different pieces that he needs, and the way they fit together, and probably the way he uses them, it would be really fun to just make a desk that's made for that, out of walnut or white oak or something, and just make it crisp and have it super uber functional. So I'm trying to talk him into that for the spring.
So you just have an extra page with a little bit of a rendering in the quote, this is what good.
We could go this way.
I'm mapping these features to that one.
Yeah. So hopefully this one will kind of be open shut a couple weeks.
Sure.
Make plywood box, painted black, nothing crazy, but
cool.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get walnut and paint it black? Just kidding.
Sure, why not? I'm burning a lot of walnut recently.
Oh yeah.
I got all this little scrap that you can't do anything with. So if anybody wants scrap, I'll ship it to them if you pay for shipping.
There you go. Everybody wins.
Yep. Well, have a good week, Brian. My drink's all
Yeah.
gone. I gotta go.
Get a refill.
Yep.
All right, man.
Next time.
Episode 10 next time. Let's do it.
See you there.
Thanks for tuning in this week. We'd be having these conversations with or without you because we get a lot of value out of this and we learn and grow together, but we're glad that you're here as well.
Yes, please let us know what you think of the podcast by leaving a review or a rating, but also comment or share with your friends in the woodworking or small business community. I'm Matt from Whiskey Woodshop.
And I'm Brian of Bossman's Boutique.
Thanks for
Thanks
listening.
for listening.